Bol. My Dandavat pranams to everybody. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams. Today is Thursday, 6th of June, 2024, and we'll be continuing our chapter 21. And we'll have a kirtan and then we'll begin. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Aradhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prashtaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Bhakti Pragyana Keshaviti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Haribo, Gaura Haribo, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radha Madana Mohan Radha Madana Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe, Radhe 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 Radhe. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganahabika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Brishabhanu Nandini Bhajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai, Nityananda Rai Ki Jai, Sachinandana Gaurahari Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarzara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarzara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarzara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Asto Tarzara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gauri Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchitananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Jai Vaishnav Sabhabhoma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Gaudi Vedantaracharya Ki Jai, Jai Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai, Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai, Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai, Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shivata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Baladas Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai, Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Parasada Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sikahol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautamdip Madhyadvip Kauladvip Ritujip Janadvip Modamdip Rududvip Apakanavadvip Dham Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopiko Govardhan Dwarasa Varmatmika Shri Braja Mandal Ki Jai, Shri Radhakun Shamakun Ganga Jamuna Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai, Shrimati Yogamaya Punamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai, Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai, Ketra Mandal Ki Jai, Sarva Vigna Vanasa Kareshina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Charidam Ki Jai, Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai, Chari Acharya Ki Jai, Akara Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai, Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gauda Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shnapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Priya Surupe Jaita Surupe Prema Surupe Sahajabi Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhueka Rupe Tatana Rupe Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Vartino Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Tikatam Sadapita Sadahridare Kanare Spudatu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantamanapetiam Apeti Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabo Benidus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha karmadi tarangamadye. Kripamaye tvam sharanam prapana. Brinde namaste charanaravindam. Vadami radam aravindanetram. Smarami radam madhurashmitasyam. Vadami radam karuna baradaram. Tato mamanastikatyena kapi. Tavai vasmi najivami tvaivina. Iti vignaya rate tvam nayamam charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Pritatmani Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada. And again to our most dearmost Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate, and all the illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vansha kalpa tarupyascha kripa sindhabevacha patitanam papnibhyo Vaishnave namo namaha. So coming to our Falshruti on page 831, the last 4 verses. Jaiva dhamma pateshe shura bhakti hoy, Jaiva dhamma napadire kabe bhakti noy. One who reads Jaiva dhamma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shuddha Bhakti. But one who does not read Jaiva dhamma can never attain Bhakti. Why? Because within the Jaiva dhamma is the complete Bhagavatam, is the complete Chaitanya Charitamrita, all the Upanishads, all the scriptures are contained, the essence of all the scriptures, the Amnaya, Praha, all are contained, supporting all the various Siddhantas and Tattvas that are going to be opened out. So all of the scriptural references are included. Nothing is omitted from this Jaiva Dhamma. So this is why this will give Shuddha Bhakti. We've already described Shuddha Bhakti in the 19th chapter. We made the platform of Shuddha Bhakti. Anyabilasata Sunyam, Kleshagni, Shubhadar, etc. These different verses there, describing the nature of Uttam Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti. This is our goal, to immerse ourselves in this pure, loving devotion to the Supreme Divine Couple. Arupanuga abhiman pate trita hoy, Jaiva dhamma vimokake dharma hinekoi. Faithfully reading Jaiva Dhamma will surely strengthen one's abhiman as a Rupanuga, a follower of Sri Rupa Goswami. One who is averse to reading Jaiva Dhamma is certainly devoid of religious principles. So our connection lies with Rupa Goswami. Everything is manifesting from Rupa Goswami. So if I have the identity, the mood, the abhiman, that I'm a Rupanuga, I'm a follower of Rupa Goswami, then this is going to bring the greatest auspiciousness in my life to this support for this path into this Jaiva Dhamma. Jaiva Dhamma is capsulating the entirety of the spiritual journey from the very beginning to the very end. Everything is included. And who was the principal person who enunciated this? It was Rupa Goswami. We just described now the nature of Shuddha Bhakti. These 2 verses, Anyabilasata Shunyam, Kleshagni, Shubhada, these are both given by Rupa Goswami. And so many more verses are given by Rupa Goswami, the mouthpiece of Mahaprabhu. So if we have that abhiman of being a follower, and it's saying, one who is averse to reading Jaiva Dhamma is certainly devoid of religious principles, because this contains all religious principles. And if we're averse to reading it, then what fortune can we expect? Yava jivane je pade Jaiva Dharma, bhakti man se jana vrita jnana karma, One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti and will surely realize the futility of jnana and karma. So again, all three of these verses principally are the same. They're all three mentioning this word faithfully too, having that sincere utsaha, this enthusiasm to imbibe these truths, to continue. This Jaiva Dharma should be continued for life. This is a lifetime prospect for us, daily to hear or read or touch something of Jaiva Dharma. And actually it's going to be, I think, very helpful. We just made that diagram of the Dasamula and making stickers, etc., that you can have anywhere in the room just to remind us of the potency of this Jaiva Dharma. I think this will remind us of Jaiva Dharma, the Dasamula map. Krishnera Ramala Seva Labi Senara Seva Sukha Magnara Hasada Krishna Para. Such a man, being fully devoted to Sri Sri Radha Krishna, Yugal Kishore, and having attained their Amal Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate loving service. Yes, we remain forever submerged in the bliss of this divine Seva. This is the fruit of Jaiva Dharma, which is incredible. Okay, so we're into page 486, and we've just been describing, or it was just described, the ceremony and the feast that ensued afterwards of the Diksha mantras that Vijay and Brajanath obtained from Babaji. And then we were hearing about the Spurti, or the manifestation of Mahaprabhu, and with the their wives, or the mother, Sachimata, and Malini Devi and Sita Devi. They all had a Spurti of these personalities. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is taking us in very seriously into this realm of Gaura Dham and giving us a beautiful picture of how we can live in this Gaura Dham. So we'll continue with this description today. Brajanath and Vijay Kumar wept and said, this is after they've seen this beautiful Spurti, "We are worthless, wretched and destitute. We know nothing at all. We could only see all these things today by the causeless mercy of our Guru and the Vaishnavas. Today our taking birth has become meaningful." These types of impressions that they're receiving here are going to be with them eternally, because these are eternal impressions. When we have these types of impressions in the groups of Vaishnavas, then they form a sanskar on the screen of the heart forever. These are good impressions. When Vijay Kumar and Brajanath had honored Prasad, they took permission of the Vaishnavas and returned home. From that day on, they bathed daily in the Ganga and then offered Dandavat Pranam at the feet of their preceptor. They would then take darshan of the deity forms of Sri Krishna in the mandir and circumambulate Tulsi. In this way, they accepted some kind of instruction every day. Very pointed instruction that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us. Every day we need to have these engagements where we're visiting a temple, or we're honoring Tulsi, we're performing our various individual pujas, but somehow to be connecting daily with these transcendental objects to go forward. In this way, they accepted some kind of instruction every day. After 4 or 5 days had elapsed, they presented themselves one evening at Srivasangam. Sandhya Arti and Nam Sankirtan were already over, and Sri Raghunath Das Babaji sat in his kutia, softly chanting Sri Nam in a sweet voice. They both offered Dandavat Pranam at his lotus feet, and he lovingly placed his lotus hand on their heads, seated them, and inquired about their welfare. Brajanath saw this as an opportunity and said, Master, by your mercy, we have properly understood Vaidhi Sadhan Bhakti. Now we are very anxious to understand Raganuga Bhakti. So kindly instruct us about this. So the last chapter was all about Vaidhi Sadhan Bhakti. Babaji was extremely pleased to hear this and said, Sri Gaurachandra has taken both of you. There's, oh, Chuda. Someone is in the temple waiting to come up. She's coming. Okay. Babaji was extremely pleased to hear this and said, Sri Gaurachandra has taken both of you as his own, so there is nothing that should not be given to you. Listen very carefully as I explain Raganuga Bhakti. You've just come in time. Just going to explain Raganuga Bhakti. First, I offer my Dandavat Pranams again and again at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami, whom Sriman Mahaprabhu liberated from the association of the Muslims. Remember the past time when Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami and Balaba, the brother, third brother, they were working in Ramkeli for the Muslim government. And if sometime on a parikrama you go to Ramkeli, it's about 6 miles north of Navadvip, you can see the remnants of the Muslim kingdom, and huge walls, massive buildings were obviously there. It's just like the skeletons left now, but you can still appreciate how big that city was. It was the ruling place of the whole of Navadvip at that time. And this was where Rupa and Sanatan were working as the Prime Minister and the Secretary or the Treasurer. So Mahaprabhu came there and liberated them, literally. He came there, they had his darshan, and straight afterwards, Rupa Goswami left. And a few months after that, Sanatan Goswami left. So he directly liberated from the Muslims. And another point that I'm always thinking and appreciating is that whenever Babaji starts to speak, he always offers these prayers, his praman, and we should always do the same. If we're going to speak something with authority, we have to, first of all, put our head at the authority's feet that we're going to be speaking about. We have to chant their mantras, etc. Every time before we begin our reading, we go through the whole Guru Varga, invoking their mercy so that our listening will be successful. So always this principle must be there. Lotus feet of Rupa Goswami, whom Sriman Mahaprabhu liberated from the association of the Muslims, and to whom he instructed Rasa Tattva at Prayag. Straight away afterwards, Rupa Goswami, he escapes and he meets Mahaprabhu in Prayag. And for 10 days at the Dashamedha Ghat, he sits and he hears basically all of the tattva of the Bhakti Rasamrita, Sindhu. All was actually given to Rupa Goswami at that time. And Anupam was there also at the same time. I then take shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, who is like a black bee tasting the nectar of that Brajaras. The supremely merciful Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu liberated him from the bottomless pit of gross materialism. Really, he was in a difficult situation. His father and uncle were so wealthy, and they had such a strong desire for him to take over that wealth. And he was married to the most beautiful wife. In every way, they tried to shackle him down. But his greed took him away from even that most opulent situation, which is remarkable. So Mahaprabhu liberated him from that, literally. Then by entrusting him within the hands of Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami, he bestowed all perfection on him. Yes, when he arrived in Puri, Mahaprabhu takes him and delivers him to Swarup Damodar. And he stays with Swarup Damodar in Puri for the next 14 years. And he's experiencing directly, firsthand, all of Mahaprabhu's ecstatic manifestations and teachings. So Raghunath Das was entirely blessed, our Prayojan Acharya. Now, before describing Raganuga Bhakti, so he's taking shelter of Rupa and Raghunath in this paragraph. It's Rupa and Raghunath who he's begging their mercy from. Just like Krishnadas Kaviraj, at the end of each chapter, he begs for the mercy of Rupa and Raghunath. Rupa and Raghunath are the principal personalities that we want to have mercy to understand this Rag Marg, this Raganuga Bhakti. Now, before describing Raganuga Bhakti, I should explain the Swarup of Ragatmika Bhakti, Brajanath. But I would first like to know what is Rag. So Brajanath is interrupting here, but it's necessary for him to know something more basic than just straight into Ragatmika Bhakti. So Babaji, when materialistic people are in contact with the objects of the senses, they naturally become deeply attached to an endless variety of material sense enjoyment. This intense attachment in the heart is called Vishaya Rag. Vishaya means enjoyer, the enjoyer. Krishna is the Vishaya. He is the enjoyer. And we are trying to usurp his position by becoming the enjoyers of this material world. So this is like how we can understand the nature of Rag. When they glance upon some beautiful object, the eyes become restless with desire. And in the heart, there is an attraction, ranjakata, towards the object of beauty and attachment, rag, to it. So he's giving this a material description of the nature of rag. Rag bhakti is the state in which Krishna becomes the sole object of rag. So we know all about greed, we know all about attraction. But when this attraction is focused exclusively on Krishna, then it becomes Rag Anuga Bhakti. Srila Rupa Goswami has defined the word Rag in the following way. Iste Swarasika Raga Paramavistata Bhavet Tanmayi Ya Bhavet Bhakti Satra Ragat Mikaudita. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12272. Rag is the unquenchable loving thirst, prema mai trishna, for the object of one's affection. Trishna means thirst, one's affection, which gives rise to spontaneous and intense absorption. Swarasiki parama vistita. In that object, Ragamaya Bhakti is the performance of seva, such as stringing garlands with such intense rag. To please and serve, stringing garlands is a direct activity that we can perform in service directly to the divine couple. Like when we're doing deity worship, also we can be having that mood. While I'm doing this for Radha and Krishna, we can be cultivating that conception. Rag is the absolute parama and undivided swarasiki, absorption, avistita, in one's own particular object of worship. When devotion to Krishna comes to the stage of Ragamayi, it is called Ragatmika Bhakti. In summary, it can be said that intense hankering for Krishna that is saturated with prem-mayi, is called Ragatmika Bhakti. Try to understand what we've just said so far. The essential quality of Raganuga Bhakti is greed, lolyam, lob. This is the essential quality, in contrast to the quality of Vaidhi Bhakti, which is fear and we following the regulations out of fear, yes. It's not spontaneous. Fear and intelligence.
I have a question.
Huh?
One question I have.
What?
Vishaya Raga, it's example about only eyes.
Yes.
Does it, can we say
On the inner eye you
for
can say,
example,
you
I'm
can,
hearing something, this object, not
yes, and it creates an impression within the consciousness.
music or something.
Yes, connecting with
Smell.
Krishna.
It is Vishaya Raga, it's not only vision, not only object, it is maybe smell or music like this.
For Krishna.
No, no. I mean, it's a strong attachment called Vishaya Raga. It is material Raga. So after sentence, for example, eyes see beautiful object.
Yes, yes, yeah.
This object can be, for example, sound or
Yes, yes.
smell.
Yes, yes. To enjoy something for the material senses is mayik. But to enjoy something for Krishna's pleasure in a mood of service, it's the service. If you, like, what does love mean? Love means, it's a verb, to love. And that means service is the symptom of love. So if I'm translating my mood towards Krishna to manifest some type of service, like it says in the verse, stringing garlands, it's a direct activity. Understand? So then it's connecting with the spiritual potency rather than the material potency. But he explained this rag in the sense, it was an example. First of all, we're coming from what is rag in the material world, and then he's dovetailing that understanding into appreciating what is spiritual rag. Okay? It is, yes, so lobha, mayi, this greed is the symptom. And based on scriptural injunction and fear is the qualities of Vaidhi Bhakti. But we have to follow Vaidhi Bhakti until we're qualified for Raganuga. That's going to be explained. It is auspicious that a person in whose heart such rag has not arisen should strive to cultivate such bhakti by behaving according to vidhi. Very important. According to the rules and regulations. If that spontaneous desire has not arisen, then we have to be very carefully following the angas of bhakti, the rules and regulations of Shastra. The principles at work in Vaidhi Bhakti are fear, respect, and reverence, whereas the only principle at work in Ragatmika Bhakti is lobha, or greed, in relation to Krishna's Leela. So it's saying everything here. We personally have to read these chapters ourselves and appreciate every single sentence that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving us. It's very clear, very clear. Brajanath, who has the adhikar qualification for Ragmai Bhakti? Now, again, as I mentioned before, we should take note of where this is being described, because many people will ask this question. So we should know that it's in the 21st chapter, right at the beginning. Where is the definition described here? So, Babaji, Vaidhi Shraddha bestows the adhikar for Vaidhi Bhakti. And similarly, Lobhamaya Shraddha, faith imbued with greed for Krishna's Brajalila, bestows the adhikar for Ragmaya Bhakti. Understand that? If you are performing Vaidhi Bhakti, that will give you the eligibility to perform it. By doing it, you will get the eligibility to perform. I want to worship the deity, I want to do this Archan Seva, so you will be bestowed the adhikar to perform that seva. And if you want to go in the direction of spontaneous attraction, if that is your desire from what you understood or heard, then you will be bestowed the adhikar to perform that spontaneous seva. It's just dependent on the desire of the sadhak. Really. How strong is the desire? Many times it's mixed. Many times we're coming from a Vaidhi conception and we want to focus on Rag Marg, and we're in transition to moving in that direction. And we're filling our various readings and chantings with a focus in the direction of the Braja Leelas. We're always trying to hear the pastimes of Rupa Goswami that he's describing in Vidagdha Madhava, etc., or in Chaitanya Charitamrita in particular. There are so many indications there. Mahaprabhu has come to give this Rag Marg. Practically every chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita points in this direction. We are recipients of Mahaprabhu's mercy, so we have so much support in this direction, in this birth. Everything is there. And we're in, right now, where we are here, speaking from, is in Goradam, where there's so much atmosphere and inspiration towards Mahaprabhu's internal meditation and reflection, which actually manifests most dramatically in Puri, which is where the Antya Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita takes place, all the chapters there in the last part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we have all these indications. At the same time, we have to very strictly follow the rules and regulations externally. We're in these bodies, and how we behave externally is very important. We can't disregard the angas of bhakti in the name of Raganuga until we're right on that platform and we spontaneously or naturally give up those activities that are not conducive to my immersion, my deep thoughts on Rag Marg. You understand? It's a process. It's a process. Sometimes it just happens for some individuals, but most of us, it's a process of purification. I'm going to read that again. Vaidhi Shraddha bestows the adhikar for Vaidhi Bhakti. And similarly, Lobhamaya Shraddha, faith imbued with greed for Krishna's Braja Leela, bestows the adhikar for Ragmaya Bhakti. Try to understand this yourself. The bhav of the Brijbasis towards Krishna is the supreme example of Ragatmika Bhakti. One who has the great fortune to have greed, lobh, to obtain the same bhav, sentiment, as the Brijbasis have towards Krishna, has the adhikar for Raganuga Bhakti. So, for example, we have the Upadeshamrita. Again, Rupa Goswami is guiding us. So we have the first 7 verses that are bringing us into a point of the 8th verse, Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtano, Smitya Kramana Rasana Manasidyoche, Tishtem Braje Anuragi Janugami, to follow in the footsteps of the Brijbasis. This is what he's saying. But where has he come from to say that? He's come from Vacho Vegam Manasakra Vegam, Atyahara Prayasyascha, Utsahan Nishchayatariyat, Dadati Pradagnati Guyam. These verses in the Upadeshamrita are like stepping stones to come to this verse, Tannama Rupa. And Krishna Nam is described just before that. It's such a sublime stepping ladder, especially for Western minds. We like that sort of clearly defined path, that there's no ambiguity about the way Rupa Goswami is giving us this Upadeshamrita. And the last verses of Upadeshamrita come to Radha Kund, understand the nature of Manjari Bhav. This is the last verse of the 11th verse of Upadeshamrita. It's a complete sequence, just in 11 short verses, encapsulates the entirety of the journey into Raganuga Bhakti. So it's just... Huh? Manashiksha, yes.
Verse 3.
Yes.
Third, explained how we can achieve with Raganuga
Yes.
Bhakti, because we should do obeisances with love.
Yes. Yes. Where to place what is the object of our attraction and love. Manashiksha is showing the same thing for Swarup Damodar, for all the parakas with Mahaprabhu. It's explaining it clearly. Raghunath Das is the Prem, Prayojan, or the Prayojan Acharya. And Rupa Goswami is the Abhideya Acharya. But without Rupa and Raghunath together, we can't enter. So we have to look at what has Rupa and Raghunath given us. We can practically say they've given us the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because every single chapter at the end, I've just said, Krishnadas Kaviraj is glorifying Rupa and Raghunath. That's the direction he's going. Because that was what Mahaprabhu, what is it? Prem Ras Niryase Korite Ashwadan Rag Mag Bhakti Loke Korite Prajan. He's giving us. This is what he's giving us. This Raganuga Bhakti. So Mahaprabhu has made it so simple for us with Rupa and Raghunath. I'm going to read that last sentence again. One who has great fortune to have greed, lobha, to obtain the same bhav, sentiment, as the Brajbasis have towards Krishna, has the adhikar for Raganuga Bhakti. That's what that verse says, Tannama Rupa. This Braje Anuragi Tishtan. This is saying, following in the footsteps of the Brajbasis. Brajanath, what are the symptoms of such lobha? Very interesting question. Babaji, when one hears about the intensely sweet bhavs of the Brijbasis, one's intelligence, buddhi apeksh, begins to consider how one may enter into those dealings. That desire, apeksha, is the symptom that lobh has awakened. Understand that? I'll read it again. When one hears about the intensely sweet bhavs of the Brijbasis, one's intelligence, buddhi apeksh, begins to consider how one may enter into those dealings. How can you enter into the pastimes of Radha and Krishna? We start to think about that when we get touched by the sublime relationships that are portrayed by Rupa Goswami, for example, between Lalita, Vishaka, Madhu Mangal, Subal, Krishna, Radha, all of the different holy places, all of the different pastimes, so many pastimes, Surya Kund, Radha Kund, Govardhan, Varshana, Nandagaon, all these different places. This is Braja Prem, Braja Ras. This is why the month of Kartik is so important, to go through all these places. Every single year we go to all these places during the month of Kartik. This is what my Gurudev gave to us. For 31 days, 30 days, every single day, maybe 6, 7 places, visiting, touching. So important. Every year, again and again and again. And same in Goradam, all the places here also. Why? To inspire this lobha, this greed. A person who has the adhikar for Vaidhi Bhakti tests everything on the platform of intelligence, knowledge of Shastra, and reasoning. So for most of us, this is what we do. Most of us are in this path of Vaidhi Bhakti, but we're aspiring for Raganuga Bhakti. But we're following the injunctions of Vaidhi Bhakti. Be clear on this. Don't suddenly think I can catapult off independently. What was that talking? What is it? Check out. Check it. What is it, son? See.
For example, if we listen to Harikatha, Shilnarayan Goswami Maharaj recording,
Yeah.
it is example enough for
It's something. There are so many. He's saying, can we listen, or is this an example of hearing, listening to my Gurudev Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj describing these things? So he's describing these things very clearly. If we can develop the greed to listen to these topics, then of course, there are so many things that will assist us, but this is one of the things. Because all of this practice, our practice of Raganuga, it has to be gone on daily. We're on page 489. This is a very important point about the adhikar that we're discussing. Who has the adhikar? What is the adhikar? What does it mean? Who is qualified for this path? And the qualification that we're understanding is greed, enthusiasm, exclusive greed, one-pointed greed, with no other. If we really want this to manifest in our consciousnesses, if we desire this, if we're ready to die for this, that has to be, I mean, dying really means the death of the material attraction. That's what it really means. Die to live. Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj say this all the time. Die to live. Let this material conception die. This vishaya in the material world, towards the material objects, die. Because it's interesting, he was saying in the beginning, the nature of rag, the description is attraction to the objects of the senses. And that attraction is replaced with Krishna. Instead of the objects of the senses, we're replacing that natural attraction to Krishna. So it's like we have to change tracks, so to speak. It's not so easy for the consciousness to do that after living in millions or billions of bodies that have not gone in that direction.
It's more easy in Navadvip.
Huh?
It's more easy to do Navadvip Dham.
In Navadvip Dham,
Outside,
it's actually more merciful.
Yes.
Navadvip Dham is Audarya.
Outside, it is
Yes.
very difficult.
Very difficult.
So many attachments.
Everyone should come quickly to Goradham. If you're greedy, because my Gurudev used to say all the time, if you can't come and live here, then at least be here by mind. And we were once in a festival in Miami, and Sripad Bhaktivedanta Padmanabha Maharaj was speaking. He was speaking on this verse, Tannama Rupa Charitati, in front of my Gurudev and many people. And he said, if one cannot come to Vrindavan, then one should come by mind. And my Gurudev just said, no. He interrupted him when he was speaking. He said, no. Everyone looked around, what? And then my Gurudev said, yes, carry on. And then again, Padmanabha Maharaj said the same thing. And again, my Gurudev said, no. So then Padmanabha Maharaj, he turned to Gurudev and said, well, what? And then Gurudev said to all the people, he said, if you can afford to come here to Miami to a festival, you can afford to come for some weeks in Vrindavan. If you have a little bit of greed, even a little bit, because it is what you're saying is true, that the availability of these moods in the atmosphere of Vrindavan in particular, and of course Goradham, so merciful, it will be bestowed so much easier when you're chanting Nam in these holy dhams. It's so simple. Sometimes in the Western world to chant Nam some days, because the Mayic energy is so oppressive, it's almost like you're walking through molasses, each step trying to chant. It's such a struggle. It can become like that if we're not connected strongly to our Guru Varga. It can become very difficult. So, in principle, everything is there for us. It's like we've been offered such a feast. And it's our choice how much we eat and what we eat, isn't it? We put the plate in front of us and I have my independence to actually choose. Yes, I want this. How much do you want this? This is the age of procrastination. We always say, yes, I want it, but we don't do anything about it. Just spinning our wheels like that. But we are going to die. All of us, believe it or not, are going to die. We have to realize we will leave the bodies. And this incredible golden opportunity, it's golden because it's got an atmosphere of Sri Radhika, and that golden avatar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the embodiment of Radhika, is giving us this opportunity. It's up to us. It always comes back up to us. You can say as many things as we like, but ultimately it's the individual to make that decision in his own life. This greed, how strong is the greed? So he's just again contrasted that on the path of Vaidhi Bhakti, there's always the consideration for the intelligence, knowledge of Shastra and reasoning. But this is not desired on this path of spontaneity. It's not dependent on intelligence. So if I have a lot of intelligence, it can be a burden for me. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj used to say that. You say material intelligence is no support for this path of Raganuga Bhakti at all. It's actually a hindrance. Because with that material intelligence, we get the abhiman of being someone special. As soon as we think we're someone special, then we've lost an opportunity. All that is needed is the greed for the sentiments of the Brijbasis. Amazing. So little is actually needed, but it's such a quantum leap for us to have faith in that and do it. What are the sweet barbs of the Brijbasis towards Krishna? Is it possible for me to obtain such barbs? How can this be obtained? This intense yearning is the symptom of greed, and one who does not have it does not have the adhikar for Raganuga Bhakti. This you should understand. Very clear. I'm going to suggest that everyone who's listening reads this again for themselves. These are very, very intensely important statements that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is sharing here for our path towards Raganuga Bhakti. Brajanath. Now we come to the more technical, we can say. What is the process of Raganuga Bhakti? Okay, now we understand what is the adhikar, which is greed. This is not a small thing. It's a huge thing. The greed to leave the comforts, perhaps, of the Western world, talking about Western people. My Gurudev was always very particular, always trying to accommodate the Westerners, building a nice temple with bathrooms and this and that, so that they would not feel they were missing any material facilities. They could still indulge in their parikrama at the same time as have some material comforts. But without these material comforts, there will also be great mercy will come. For example, just to share with the viewers, the people watching, in the summer season, when it really, really gets uncomfortable materially, I promise you, that's when the real mercy starts to come. That's when we really question, why am I here? 44 degrees out in the sun, and inside can be very difficult. All kinds, and in wintertime, it's very cold. It's not by degrees as cold in the West, but none of the constructed houses have, internal heating arrangements. So it's very cold inside. Actually, Radhakund is the hottest place, practically, in the different dhams, and at the same time, it's the coldest place. So that physical austerity is there. And if someone is willing to undergo that, the mercy that can come. I can remember so many years sitting in Vrindavan, and the heat was so intense, we'd sit in the street on two corners, look for a corner where there might be some tiny little breeze coming, and just sit there waiting for a little bit of breeze to cool us down, basically. And at that time, so much mercy directly comes. Oh, you're willing to put up with this for the auspicious goal of coming into Brajadam. If you are willing to, this is greed. I'm willing to drop my material attachments. I have to be to move forward away from it.
Is there any difference between Loba and Lauliam? Any
Same.
nuance? Just
Exactly the
different?
same. Exactly the same. The sadhak who has, Babaji's answering, the sadhak who has developed greed towards the beautiful service mood, seva, of a particular Brijabasi, always remembers and meditates on his seva to that personality. So who is this Brijabasi that we're looking to put prominently? in our hearts is Sri Radhika. He is absorbed in the natural pastimes of his beloved Sri Krishna with that Brijabasi, and he constantly resides in Braj, either physically or within the mind, having agreed to obtain his or her bhav. But it's very difficult to stay in the mind if you're not actually here. It's not so easy. We can imagine it and so on. But actually, I was just reflecting, when you read the prayers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this Kalyana Kalpataru, or what's the other one called? What's that book called with Bhaktivinoda Thakur's face? That's the Kalyana Kalpataru, I think. Yeah. So that Sharanagati and the, just forgotten those other two. I'll get it in a minute. But the books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he really enunciates that greed, that mood, that hankering, that restlessness to be merged in that Amal Prem Seva. Just like he said in the last verse today, we're reading from the Val Shruti. Constantly resides in Braj, either physically or within the mind, having agreed to obtain his or her bhav. He follows that Brijabasi's example and always renders seva in two ways. Externally, he serves as a practicing sadhak, and internally, he renders seva with the bhavs, bhavana, purvaka of his siddhadeya. This is the process of Raganuga Bhakti. Seva sadhak rupena, siddha rupena chatrahi. This is another verse by Rupa Goswami. It's describing the two parallels of the internal siddha, the perfected state, and the external sadhak. The external sadhak is following carefully the rules and regulations. He's following Ekadashi, he's following all these different principles, but internally, he's connecting in Amala Prem Seva to the Supreme Lord. This is the process. This is what Mahaprabhu is giving us. Do we want it or not? How much do we want it? $1 million we want it? $10 million we want it? $1 billion we want it? How much do we want it? However much you want it, you'll get it. Brajanath, what is the relationship between Raganuga Bhakti and the Angas of Vaidhi Bhakti? Very nice question. The Angas of Vaidhi Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, and so on, are also included in the Raganuga sadhak's practice. The sadhak follows the eternal residence of Braj, and consequently, he tastes the eternal bliss of service. At the same time, he observes the Angas of Vaidhi Bhakti with his external body. This is what I just said. This verse, what is it? Sadhak Seva Rupena, Siddha Rupena Chatrahi. This verse that the sadhak is carefully following those principles externally with his body. Our bodies are in the material world, and this transcendental connection is in the internal spiritual world. Don't try and merge them together like they're one. Don't try and pretend or imagine that I'm in the spiritual world when I'm attached to different objects of the material world. It has to be completely purified, you understand? But I think this Upadeshamrita is a wonderful journey to begin a comprehension clearly of what this is. Brajanath, please explain the glories of Raganuga Bhakti. Okay, we've gone through the Adhikar, we've compared it to what is Vaidhi Bhakti. The Angas of Vaidhi Bhakti are the same as Raganuga Bhakti, ultimately. But they're just an internal reflection on that Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. It's taking you inside rather than outside. This is the nature of the jiva. This is the actual swarup of the jiva. I shared with you before about how Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj mentioned that when we make that choice before we come into the Tatashta, when the glitter of Maya is there, we have a choice to go externally or internally. If we choose to go externally, we come into the Tatastha Shakti. If we choose to go at that point internally, we go back to our original seva in the transcendental realm. So how to become, and in Kali Yuga it's very hard because there's so much pushings to be external. There's so much pressure to be external. Your reputation is very important. You know, our sense of our false ego is very dear to us. Each individual has to work these things through, you understand? It's so beautiful. It's very powerful. Please explain the glories of Raganuga Bhakti. Babaji. Raganuga Bhakti very quickly bestows that fruit which one cannot obtain even by observing the angas of Vaidhi Bhakti with firm faith nishta for a long time. Devotion on the Vaidhi Marg is weak because it depends on rules and regulations, whereas Raganuga Bhakti is naturally strong because it is completely independent. With our whole heart we want something. That makes it really strong. It gives it a strength. When one adopts the spiritual conception of following in the footsteps of a loving resident of Braj, Rag is awakened, which always involves following the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, and Atmanivedanam. The same angas as we described in Vaidhi Bhakti are there in Raganuga Bhakti. Ruchi for following in the footsteps of the Brijvasis is only awakened in those whose hearts are nirgun. I'll read that again. Ruchi, taste, for following in the footsteps of the Brijvasis is only awakened in those whose hearts are nirgun, devoid of material attributes. So it can't be faked. We do this. This defect of the human birth is vipralipsa, cheating. We even want to cheat Krishna. We want to try and cheat Krishna by imagining that Krishna doesn't see my real desire. I have to be careful. Ruchi for following in the footsteps of the Brijavasis is only awakened in those whose hearts are nirgun, beyond material attributes. This is why the greed for Raganuga Bhakti is supremely rare and the root of supreme auspiciousness. There are as many types of Raganuga Bhakti as there are of Ragatmika Bhaktas. Ragatmika Bhakti. Every individual has their own particular rasa with Krishna. We've said so many times. It's not a stereotyped thing that you can just follow and trot along behind everyone else and think that that's going to manifest your swarup in your heart. You have to actually sit yourself a little separate from everything in your chanting and your introspection, from everything, except the mercy of the Vaishnavas that you have faith in, and follow them. But nothing's going to manifest in a group conception. It's like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said clearly that institutions can't help bhakti flourish. And we know all those reasons, etc. Because in institutions they have to have control. Control is a symptom of Vaidhi Bhakti. It's also a demonic quality. Fear and control. So this fear is part of Vaidhi Bhakti. And control is what I'm trying to do there in Vaidhi Bhakti. I'm trying to control things. But spontaneous attraction is liberated from that entirely. It takes a lot of courage, to walk across that line. You give up everything that you've had faith in for the whole life. It's a big thing. How many kinds of Ragatmika Bhakti are there? So now we're going into another topic. We're going to stop in a minute. Babaji, there are two kinds of Ragatmika Bhakti. That which is based on transcendental lust to satisfy Krishna, Kama Rupa, and that which is based on relationship, Sambandha Rupa. So basically, Kama Rupa is that of the gopis, Shringara Ras, and Sambandha is following Vatsalya Bhav or Sakya Bhav. These are the two distinct paths of Raganuga. Because Sakya Bhav is certainly in the realm of Raganuga Bhakti. It's not Madhurya, but it's still Rag Mag. Personalities like Subal, Sridham, they have so much rag and intense greed. Subal, he doesn't even let Krishna's hand go in his dreams. He's always holding. And Sridham, he's praying for the moon to quickly finish its orbit so that he can be again with Krishna the next day. This is rag. In the Priyanam Sakas, they are there. So this will be described tomorrow. So this is a very powerful chapter. It's the most powerful chapter. It's a pivotal chapter because we've come through the rules and regulations, so to speak, and what is Sambandha Gyan, Abhideya, Bhakti, etc. Now we're coming to a very sensitive, subtle appreciation, which is going to, if we can grasp it to some degree, we can feel confident. Yes, this is my path. And then with that enthusiasm, with that greed, we can absorb the last 14 chapters. The last 14 chapters are only going to be in this direction of Raganuga Bhakti. Most sadhaks don't hear or read the last 14 chapters of Jaiva Dharma. They just read up to Nam Tattva and then they stop.
Really?
So
Three
many.
times I read it, I could never get beyond.
Because unless we have some greed for it, I can remember even doing the audio. I just did the first 25 chapters and then I waited for 10 years before I did the last 14 chapters because I thought they were too confidential just to have on the street, more or less. So I waited that much time, but we'll keep going forward anyway. Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Raganuga Mai Bhakti ki jai, Loba Mai Bhakti ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Vanshaka Rubyascha, Kripa Sindhavcha, Patitanam Pavnimyo, Vaishnavim Namaha. It's a very serious but joyful path at the same time when we have the courage to jump onto it.